Hello and thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at. 2 Chicago area safety net hospitals closed their doors this past year. How advocates are working to get them reopened. Is Chicago playing defense instead of offense in its fight against rats? What a new audit shows about the city's abatement efforts. And sweeping changes are taking effect for student loan borrowers. What you should know. First off tonight, the governor and the mayor won't say whether embattled Illinois House Speaker Chris Welch should keep his job. Speaking at separate news conferences today, Governor J.B. Pritzker and Mayor Brandon Johnson both praised the recent release of a legislative inspector general report into sexual harassment accusations against former state representative Harry Benton. Welch has faced heated criticism for helping fund Benton's re-election after he knew of the claims, as well as questions about his own communications with a female staffer. Pritzker says the report demonstrates gaps in the system to curb harassment and looks forward to lawmakers coming up with fixes.
Victims of sexual harassment ought to have a process that is clear and that investigates and holds accountable people who are guilty of perpetrating these acts.
I'm grateful, that more transparency has been brought to light of not just this incident, but I think of any elected leader that has to be held to a righteous standard, quite frankly.
Johnson added that he trusts the speaker will do what's right for his constituents and the state of Illinois. Drivers and homeowners may see some relief from steadily rising insurance costs under 2 new bills signed into law today.
We're all painfully aware that insurance premiums have become increasingly unaffordable. We know, too, that there are legitimate reasons for insurance rates to rise. Climate change is real, and the Midwest is now experiencing its effects more acutely. Inflation and actions of the current federal administration that have driven up the cost of imports are also significantly contributing to the cost of insurance claims.
Under the 2 new laws, home and auto insurance companies must justify proposed homeowners and auto insurance rates. The Illinois Department of Insurance can object to those rates if they're found to be excessive, inadequate, or unfairly discriminatory. And insurers can't raise rates on Illinois policyholders to cover losses associated with disasters in other states, such as hurricanes or wildfires. The city's budget director is stepping down from the position, the latest in a series of top officials to leave the Johnson administration. Annette Guzman, who's held the job since 2023, is resigning to care for her family. Mayor Johnson says despite this, his office will be ready to present a balanced budget in October. The city's first deputy budget director under Guzman will fill in on an interim basis. Chicago is projected to end 2026 with a budget shortfall of around $89 million. Up next, efforts to reopen 2 Chicago area safety net hospitals right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Community advocates are pushing for 2 shuttered safety net hospitals in the Chicago area to reopen their doors. Oak Park's West Suburban Medical Center and Uptown's Weiss Hospital both closed this past year following federal funding cuts and reports of poor infrastructure and working conditions. But there may still be hope for the hospitals as a judge weighs a proposed deal that could pave the way for new ownership. Joining us are Reverend Robin Hood of Redeemed Outreach Ministries and co-founder of Mothers Opposed to Violence Everywhere, and Lily Lay, Community Organizing Director of the Vietnamese Association of Illinois. Thanks to you both. Welcome back to Chicago Tonight.
Thank you.
So, Reverend, West Suburban and Rice, they've both been closed for months now. Weiss sometime last year. How have the communities been affected by those closures?
It's been affected very badly because both hospitals serve thousands of people. And if you pay attention to where those hospitals are, they are in black and brown communities. people that makes minimal money, or either they're unemployed. So anytime that happens, it puts a strain on the whole system. The county can't take anymore. So when you close on the West Suburban on the west side and on Weiss on the north side, all you got is in the middle, and everything in the middle costs money. So it's been a very negative impact on our communities.
What are you hearing from people?
I'm hearing from people things that totally make sense to me now. 7 grocery stores closed last week. You can't eat a salad without getting in trouble, and now you can't go to the hospital. All this is happening at once, and me not being a conspiracy theory, now I'm a believer of what we've been told for the last few years, that these things was coming down, and that's why we forming a coalition to save safety net hospitals. We had this problem with Weiss with Mercy closed back during the middle of the pandemic. We had this problem when Bethany Advocate Hospital closed on the west side right before the epidemic. So it is devastating to what's happening in our community.
So it sounds like people feel like it's just stacking up on them with the number of different things that you mentioned, the grocery store, can't eat a salad, or the fear of cyclospora.
Yeah.
Lily, walk us through how we got here. How did these hospitals end up closing their doors?
Yes, so really the first warning sign was a few years back when the parking lot sale happened for the Weiss Hospital. As you know, at the time, the parking lot sale happened and it was redeveloped into high-income luxury apartment buildings. And we had warned, the community had warned back then that this was the beginning of the end for the Weiss Hospital. And we saw the current owner, Dr. Prasad, step in and run the hospital to the ground. No proper management. The facility is now shut down as it's no longer meeting the code. And a few months later, West Suburban also shuts down. And we're seeing this as a private equity, private business owner coming in, exploiting the resources of these two major institutions in our communities. And as Reverend Hood said, the folks that suffer are the patients, the staff, and the communities that don't have their safety nets to go to.
So there's a legal settlement that's been proposed by the landlord of the two hospitals. It would remove the CEO, Manoj Prasad, and Resilience Healthcare from managing the hospitals, allow Insight Health, which operates Mercy Hospital in Bronzeville, to take over management of both West Suburban and Weiss, and potentially create a path to reopening both hospitals under new leadership. Now, Prasad and Resilience, which owns West Suburban, as we've mentioned, have reportedly backed away from this deal, saying that they no longer want to proceed. But attorneys for the landlord argue that the settlement was already finalized and that the judge now needs to come to a determination of whether or not this is legally enforceable. Lily, what concerns do you have as this legal fight drags on?
We know from the past almost full year of fighting to reopen Weiss and now fighting to reopen West Suburban, there's been so many convoluted conversations with both between the electeds and the owners, and also with the communities. We're constantly asking, what is the plan to reopen these hospitals? And we're not getting a clear answer. There's been radio silence from the ownership, no communication or transparency around what their actual plan is. At the same time, the governor's office has also been largely silent on the issue. And we know that the hospitals owe millions of dollars in state taxes. There's no accountability mechanism to hold these owners accountable for running down these hospitals. And this is why we're seeing that how important it is for the government to now to have to step in, to work with the communities, to listen to us, and have a credible plan to invest in and fund viable, sustainable health facilities in our low-income, predominantly Black, brown immigrant communities.
Do you think that this proposed settlement is the best opportunity to reopen these hospitals? Is this the best way to do that?
This is just the beginning. Again, the conversations have been stalling for so long. It's been months. And we know that no matter what happens with these hospitals under new responsible ownership, the community has to be at the table. Any action moving forward has to include the input from the community side, from the worker side, on the futures of both of these hospitals in partnership with state leadership.
Reverend Hood, you've warned and you've got concerns that more safety net hospitals could be on the chopping block as well. Which ones are you concerned about?
Mount Sinai, Roseland Hospital have already said they out of money a couple weeks ago. And the thing that puzzled me the most is our legislators passing a bill that protects hospital owners from lack of transparency. That's a big issue. We got here because there was no transparency. Now it's actually a law that allows these owners to not tell the community they're about to close or anything. So we're having a town hall meeting at the end of this month, August the 31st, at Malcolm X College from 6 to 8. And we're inviting every last one of our legislators because they have to tell us, why did they vote for this? We need transparency. So now every time a hospital closes, workers gonna come to work and they're gonna tell them, oh, we closed today. You no longer have a job. Patients coming. This is life or death. This is not a game. So there needs to be a higher accountability coming from the governor.
So you've called on the governor, and the governor's office says that this situation is ultimately a private business failure. In a statement from his office, he says, quote, despite intensive financial and operational support from the state of Illinois throughout Resilience Health's tenure, West Suburban and Weiss hospitals are ultimately private facilities whose leadership was both unable and unwilling to do everything in their power necessary to keep their facilities in operation, and they never presented the state with any formal request or viable plan to continue operations. At this time, all former West Suburban patients have been safely transitioned to new providers. Lily, why do you think the state still bears responsibility here?
When it comes to hospitals, especially safety net hospitals that serve low-income patients without turning people away based on their ability to pay, when the governor says that this is a private matter, this is not just private dealings. There's a real impact on the public. So we're viewing this as a public health issue, a public health emergency where the state and the governor is responsible to the community, to the public, on how these health facilities, these hospitals will continue to operate. So and
it sounds like, until the state, decides to step in, it does sound like for now it is in the hands of the courts. Where right. We will have to keep waiting. Reverend Robin Hood and Lily Lay, thanks to you both for joining us. We appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Okay,
thank you so much.
Up next, a push to redraw the battle lines in Chicago's war on rodents. Chicago has a rat problem, and it isn't likely to improve if the city doesn't come up with a new playbook. That's according to a new report by the city's watchdog, and here to tell us more about it is our own Patty Wetley. Patty, what did the IG's audit find?
Well, in short, they took a look at the Bureau of Rodent Control from July 2023 to July 2024, and the top line findings were that the Bureau relies far too heavily, almost exclusively, on calls to 311 or reports to 311 for complaints to follow up for abatement. And they're saying those calls are also put in a queue, sort of in the order in which they're taken, not necessarily triage which ones are more severe or important. And then the other key finding was that the Bureau takes very much a poison first approach, when best practices in pest management now are moving toward poison as a last resort. And rather than addressing the root cause, which would be rats' source of food and shelter, they're going with a poison approach and then not necessarily knowing if that was effective or not.
So what were the report's recommendations?
One, that they should be far more proactive and do more of a survey and data collection and go around the city. You know, New York surveyed some like 35,000 properties and then assigned sort of a danger level to them or an intensity level, and then you follow up in the order in which the issue is the most severe. Also integrate with all the other departments that might have a hand in pest management, whether it's removing weeds or building code violations and things like that, while acknowledging that all of us citizens, residents of Chicago, have a role to play, because that trash is clearly coming from somewhere. And, you know, if we're not throwing it away properly, if we're not picking up dog waste, you know, that's just the buffet that rats are dining out on.
Yeah, rats will be attracted to that. 10 seconds left. What's next?
They said they will follow through with a lot of these recommendations, but that some of them would be depending on funding and on technology upgrades. If you want a database of where to find the rats, you need somebody to build that database. And
you're going to have to pay for it.
Yes.
So, okay, Patty Whiteley, thanks so much.
Thanks, Brandis.
And you can read Patty's full story on our website. It is all at WTTW.com/news. Millions of federal student loan borrowers are facing changes that could cost them thousands of dollars. As of July 1st, the One Big Beautiful Bill Act marked the elimination of the SAVE repayment plan, new borrowing caps for parents, and professional degree changes. And students, graduates, and families are feeling the impact. Joining us now to talk more about these changes are Jennifer Reed Davis, Executive Director of Bottom Line Chicago, which provides academic, personal, financial, and career counseling for first-generation and low-income students, and Natalia Abrams, President and founder of the Student Debt Crisis Center, a nonprofit organization working to end student debt crisis. Thanks to you both for joining us.
Thank you.
So the Office of Federal Student Aid recently reported that about 9.5 million borrowers are currently in default on their student loans. That includes nearly 20% of loan recipients in Illinois. Jennifer, to you first, what's your reaction to that?
I mean, it's really unfortunate. Illinois has a series of great colleges and great universities to offer our thousands of families and students in the state of Illinois. And yet, if it is not affordable, that means that it is not accessible for those families at scale. And we know that they want to be able to have college as an option for them.
Natalia, why are default rates so high for Illinoisans?
As you mentioned, they're high across the country. You have about 250,000 student loan borrowers in Illinois alone. That means that more than 50,000 people are in default. And this is, from the position of Student Debt Crisis Center, the chaos and confusion going on with both the lending side, but then trying to pay it back. There have been so many changes over the last 5 years, sometimes changes day by day, hour by hour. It's almost impossible for student loan borrowers to keep up.
Right. I recall covering a lot of these over the years as well. Natalia, how long on average is it taking borrowers to pay back their loans today?
Well, it's technically, there is a 10-year standard plan, and then there is a new tiered standard plan. This is post the OBBBA changes, which is now up to 25 years. But it takes borrowers far much more than that. We're looking at 25 years on the standard 10-year, and borrowers taking 30 plus years to pay off their loans. The majority of our supporters at Student Debt Crisis Center are borrowers over the age of 45 and have been borrowing for more than 20 years.
Geez. Jennifer, costs are rising across multiple industries, of course. You know, we can talk about groceries and gas and, of course, housing. How are all of these rising costs impacting graduates' abilities to pay those loans back?
Well, I think if we speak about our students in like their real life terms, they have all of those bills that you are talking about. So they are thinking about rent, they are thinking about groceries, they are thinking about transportation, and all of those costs are going to come before college tuition. That is the world that we live in. And so what is happening is that I think our students don't even believe that college is now a viable option for them because it feels unaffordable. And what I think will eventually happen is that we will see a decline in students applying to college because they don't believe that it's actually a realistic opportunity for them to even pursue.
Right. And there's some other parts of this act that could also have an impact on that hopefully we'll have time to get to. Natalia, a recent survey by the Student Debt Crisis Center, you all found that 91% of borrowers will face increased payments with the end of the SAVE plan, as well as an estimated $500 average monthly payment increase. Remind us what the SAVE plan was and why do you think, it was so important for borrowers?
So the SAVE plan is what's called an income-driven repayment plan. So this is a plan based on your income versus your overall student loan balance. Those with high loan balances or that have low incomes really benefit from these plans. SAVE was by far the most generous repayment plan out there. It also paid the unpaid interest, so borrowers didn't see their payments balloon and increase. This has been struck down by the courts and OBBBA and is now ended. Borrowers have been on a 2-year loan forbearance, and they are waking up to payments that are not $500 more than zero, mind you, $500 more than what their payment was when they were on the SAVE plan. And that is just the median. I talk to borrowers every day that are looking at $1,000 payments and above.
What options do borrowers have for repaying their loans now?
So if you haven't taken out a new loan after July 1st of this year, of 2026, there is a legacy income-driven repayment plan called income-based repayments. That is probably going to be the best plan for you. There is also a new plan that came out called the Repayment Assistance Plan, or RAP. Lots of acronyms here. The best thing for student loan borrowers to do is to go to the repayment calculator at studentaid.gov to see what plan is best for them. But by all means, get on a repayment plan or what's called an extended or graduated repayment plan. It is so much better than falling into default or delinquency. Even a loan forbearance, which is a temporary measure, but it's still better than adding to those default numbers, because we expect with the ending of the SAVE plan and all of the OBBBA changes to see that default number just skyrocket.
So another new policy outlined in the OBBBA Act, OBBBA, loan limits to graduate programs that no longer meet the professional degree requirement. So nursing, physical therapy, social work, education, supporters are arguing that students should not take out high federal loans for degree programs because expected salaries are not enough to pay those loans back. Jennifer, what's your reaction to that?
Oh, I'm a former teacher, so I should say that up front, and a very proud classroom teacher. And so my first reaction to that is actually that many of those professions that you just named are underpaid to begin with. So if we believe that it is not worth the investment, I actually wonder if we are investing in paying those careers what they actually are valued and how they contribute to society. The other thing that I want to say is that we here in our country, we encourage our young people to pursue their own dreams. And so we want those dreams to not come at a price tag that they cannot afford.
Right. And the American dream, like if we're talking about people pursuing dreams. Natalia, do you think these loan caps will impact whether prospective students, pursue degrees in those fields? And then what does that mean for those industries, healthcare, education?
Absolutely. I think it's going to impact people from going into these incredibly vital careers. Thank you, Jennifer, for being a teacher. My mother was a teacher, super important career. I believe in Chicago, I'm in California. You need to have a doctoral degree to be a physical therapist. That's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. But when you have an all-time max of $100,000 limit for graduate students, that's not going to cover that professional degree, and they're going to have to go and get a private loan if they can't even get one. A recent study from Protect Borrowers said 45% of borrowers won't even be able to apply for private loans, so they just won't have any options. We are reversing what Lyndon Johnson did with the Higher Education Act of 1965, which was to allow low-income borrowers, women, and borrowers of color to be able to go to school and expand their American dream and be able to get an education. And we are going backwards now in this country.
All right, that is unfortunately where we will have to leave it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Reed Davis, Natalia Abrams, thanks to you both for joining us. Appreciate it. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is our show for this Tuesday night. Check out our website for our Chicago Summer Festival Guide. From street fests and art shows to outdoor concerts and cultural celebrations, we've got you covered. It is all at WTTW.com/festivals. And join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. Why some communities across Illinois say they're interested in landing new nuclear facilities as the state lifts its moratorium. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe. Have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm working to preserve the dignity and rights of all individuals.